anything leaking out on the ground from the grill. You got your headlights in the front of the truck, they're clean. The turn signals are always the furthest one out on any vehicle you see. Your turn signals always be the furthest out. The next lights are your nighttime lights. The ones closest to the radiator or the grill, that's your daytime running lights. We're going to move down to our bumper. Bumper securely mounted. It's not hanging off the truck. License plate. From this distance, I can tell that it's securely mounted and in the proper date. Also, nothing else leaking out of the truck I can see, and the truck is not leaning left or right, indicating a flat tire or broke spring. All right, hang on to it. There we go. Okay, from right here, you guys move right there. We're going to talk about your upper radiator hose. Upper radiator hose is not cracked, broke, it's not leaking. Band clamp, securely mounted. All right, right there is what they're talking about on your band clamp. And always mention securely mounted. We're going to come down. These hoses are not leaking, but they mean nothing on the test. What means something is right here, and that's your alternator. Alternator securely mounted, no missing nuts and bolts in the positive and negative. And this belt right here should have no more than what?
3/4 inch of plug.
At dead center, right there. Talking about the frame, no cracks, no illegal welds in the frame on this side. I can see the oil pan from this side, and nothing's leaking out on the ground. Now then, the only other thing right here is going to be your windshield washer fluid. Right here. And it's at proper level. If you needed some, you would just take this cap off and install it right there. Okay? That's all I want to talk about on this side. Let's move around to the other side. There's oil. If you was going to take a trip in any of those vehicles out west, you'd want to check the oil. Right here's where you would check it. You pull the dipstick out, wipe it off, insert it, pull it back out, make sure it's between add and full. Okay? If it's down to add, you would add a gallon. If you needed to add some, you'd add it right here. Right there's where you add oil in a vehicle. Radiator fluid. Right here's your reservoir. It's at proper level. If it was low, you would install it right here. All right? Next thing on fluid is your power steering fluid. It's at proper level. If you needed to add it, it would be right here. Okay? Now, we've covered your fluids. Let's get back into your hoses. There's your lower radiator hose. It's not cracked, broke, it's not leaking. There's the band clamp. Runs right into your water pump. Water pump is belt driven. It's securely mounted, not cracked, broke, or leaking. Right here's your air compressor. Air compressor. Air compressor. All right? Straight, and this gear driven. It's gear driven. Straight down from your air compressor with this hose, right down behind that frame is your power steering pump. Okay? That's your power steering pump. And it is gear driven as well. Securely mounted. This hose comes off your power steering pump. Just remember that. And goes into your gearbox. Okay? Now then, that is your shaft to your steering wheel. Okay? Well, here's what you're looking for. This nut and bolt on your universal. And it's not cracked, broke. It's not missing. This is your gearbox. That's your gearbox. That's not your pump. Your pump is back here. There's your power steering gearbox. No missing nuts and bolts in the gearbox. Right there they are. And it's securely mounted. You got your pitman arm, your drag link, your tie rod. And they're securely mounted with no missing nuts and bolts. It's a castle nut and a Carter keeper safety. Okay? The frame on this side, no illegal welds, no cracks, no missing nuts and bolts. You got your spring hanger and your spring. All right? They're not cracked or broke. So your spring hanger and your spring. Here's your shock hanger and your shock with no missing nuts and bolts, and it's securely mounted. Shock is not leaking. Okay? Working my way down, airbag, securely mounted, it's not leaking. Under your airbag is your U-boats. U-boats. And they're not cracked or broke. Right there, U-boats. Okay? And they're not cracked or broke. No shiny threads indicating looseness. Okay, now I'm going to work my way out. On y'all's pre-trip it works in. I'm going to work my way out. And I'm going to start with this airline hose. This airline hose right here. It's not cracked, broke, it's not leaking. It runs into my brake chamber. My brake chambers, no missing nuts and bolts. The band clamp around my brake chamber is securely mounted. It's not cracked, broke. Chamber's not dented in any way. Out of my chamber comes my push rod. It's attached to my slack adjuster. Slack adjuster is at a 90-degree angle with no more than 1 inch of play with my brakes released. Working my way out to my drums and landings. Okay, no grease or oil on my drums and landings. Should be no less than 1/4 inch of landings or dangerously thin. Now I'm going to work my way into a steer tire. That's a steer tire. No less than 4/32 of tread depth. Evenly wore. No recaps on a steer tire. 110 pounds of air pressure that I would check at the valve stem with my gauge, and I would reinstall my cap. Okay? I'm going to physically check the rim to make sure there's no illegal welds, it's not cracked. I'm going to physically touch or point to every single lug to make sure they're not loose or missing. I'm going to check that hub oil seal for a proper oil level, and if it was leaking, there'd be a puddle of oil right there. That's how you cover a steer tire. That's a complete under the hood. Yep, that feels like it's securely mounted and it's not cracked or broke. It's clean. No stickers obstructing my view. This window would be up. It's not cracked or broke. No stickers obstructing my view. That's an outer door skin. Door latch is working properly. There's a seal around the door and around the tractor. It's securely mounted. The steps. No debris on the steps that would cause me to fall getting in and out of the tractor. Working my way back to the fuel tank. That's not a gas tank, that's a fuel tank. Cap is secure. Nothing leaking out on the ground. You've got 2 black bands. There's straps that hold that fuel tank up there, and there's no missing nuts and bolts in them. Working my way back to right here. Catwalking these steps. There's no debris on the steps or catwalk here that would cause me to fall if I wish to get up there. The frame. No cracks or illegal welds, no missing nuts and bolts in the frame. My cross member. Here's my cross member right here. That black bar right there. That's your cross member. No illegal welds, it's not cracked or broke. The bar underneath here is my torque arm. You don't know what the torque arm is, it's right there. It's got that piece of tape on it. That white tape, that's your torque arm. It's not cracked or broke, it's securely mounted. Drive shaft. It's not cracked, broke, no debris hung in the universal joint. Overall condition, good. What have I left out so far here?
The hinges of the door.
Well, exhaust, that's good. Keep up with me now. See how I'm working my way over? That's what I do. I start here, I'm working my way over. The exhaust, securely mounted, no missing nuts and bolts. It's not leaking or there'd be soot at the elbow. Okay? Now we've covered all this. Okay? I'm gonna finish up with my tractor before I get into doing something else. So if you want to come around here on this side, I'm gonna turn right around. Tractor broke. Attaches to the spring. Spring's not cracked or broke. Alright? Attached to the rear end with U-bolts. U-bolts are not cracked or broke. There's no shiny threads indicating looseness. Alright? We've covered all that right there, except for my shock and shock hanger. Okay, no missing nuts and bolts, and the shock is not leaking. I'm gonna work my way out from my air lines, not cracked or broke, not leaking. Going into my brake chamber's not cracked, broke, not leaking, not dented. It's not bent. Band clamps around the brake chamber, securely mounted. You got your push rod coming out of the back of the brake chamber. It's not cracked or broke. Attached to your slack adjuster. That slack adjuster's at a 90-degree angle with no more than 1 inch of play with the brakes released. Working my way out. You got your drums and your linings. Less than 1/4 inch of lining or dangerously thin. Okay? Checking the drive tires all the way across. No less than 2/32 of tread depth. Okay? You can run a recap on a drive tire. I would check for 100 pounds of air pressure at the valve stem there and at the valve stem here for my back tire with my gauge, and then I would reinstall the cap. I'm going to check the rim for no illegal welds and no cracks in the rim. I'm going to check the rim on this side to make sure there's no gap, no daylight. That's what that gap means, no daylight, to make sure they're seated properly to one another. I'm going to physically touch or point to every single lug to make sure that it's not loose or missing. This is a sealed hub, but I'm going to check it to make sure it's not leaking oil. If it was, there'd be a puddle of oil right there. All right, that's how you check a drive tire. I do not have to say anything about this drive tire because it's a mirror copy of this one, okay? So, with that being said, and I'm standing right here, I'm going to get into coupling system before I go any further. Coupling system will start right here at the hoses. This is your emergency, that's your service. Emergency is always closest to you. This is your red. Here's your pigtail, and it's locked in place. They're up off the catwalk so it won't rub, okay? They're attached to the glad hands, and glad hands on the trailer, and there's your glad hand seal, which is locked in place. Pigtail here is locked in place with the safety latch. That's attached to the faceplate on the trailer, okay? Apron, right here. No cracks or illegal welds in the apron. Apron sits on your fifth wheel skid plate, okay? Fifth wheel skid plate, properly greased, and there's no gap, no daylight between the apron and the skid plate. Your skid plate is held onto your platform with your pivot pin. Here's your pivot pin right there. This is your platform on this one. And this is a sliding fifth wheel and platform, so you have to make sure the jaws are locked into place, which they are. Here's your release handle and your safety latch right there. And there's no missing nuts and bolts that holds your fifth wheel to your frame. All right? Then 3 parts to a kingpin: the base, the shank, the head. Okay? I would make sure that it's locked in place. While I'm here, I'm also going to check the lights under the tractor. I'm going to check to make sure my splash guards are not cracked or broke, and they are at least 8 inches or no more than 8 inches off the ground. Okay? Now then, with that being said, the next thing you'll want to do and check as far as landing gear goes or coupling system will be your landing gear and your gap here. Okay? You want enough gap here to be able to turn the tractor so your splash guards will not get in your landing gear. And of course, the landing gear is fully raised, crank arm in place, elbow down. Okay? Now then, bulkhead. Bulkhead is the front of the trailer. At the very top, you've got clearance lights. Clearance lights at the very top, not cracked, broke, amber in color. But the front of your trailer will be your bulkhead. All right? The side of your trailer, nothing sticking out of the side of the trailer. And I see that we now have 50% all the way down of your reflective tape. Okay? I'm going to check there's no missing nuts and bolts in the sides or frame of the trailer. And everywhere there's a rivet all the way across, there's a cross member. All right? Working my way back to right here. Now then, from here I'm going to check my air lines. I'm going to work my way out. I'm going to check my air lines. They're not cracked or broke. They're not leaking. They go down into my brake chamber. Brake chamber securely mounted with no missing nuts and bolts. It's not dented. It's not leaking. My band clamp is in place. Okay? Your brake chamber, out of the back of it comes your push rod. It's not cracked, broke, bent. Attached to your slack adjuster. The slack adjuster is at a 90-degree angle with no more than 1 inch of play with your brakes released. See how it repeated itself all the way down? I said the exact same thing on every chamber. Working my way out to your drums and linings. No grease or oil on your drums or linings. Your lining should be no less than 1/4 inch or dangerously thin. Okay? Trailer tires. no less than 2 seconds of tread depth, 100 pounds of air pressure that I would check at the valve stem here, the valve stem there. I would check it with a gauge, and then I would reinstall my cap. Okay? No daylight in between the rims. No daylight in between the rims. Alright, I check the rim on this side, it's not cracked. No illegal welds. I'm going to physically touch or point to every single lug to make sure it's not loose or missing. This is a hub here. I check it to make sure that it's not leaking, or there'd be a puddle of oil there. Alright, that's how you do your trailer. Stay with me. I move around to the back. Don't say anything until I'm done. I'm going to move around to the back. I'm going to check these brand new doors I just had installed. Nothing sticking in and out of the doors. My light's up on top. There's 3 of them. They're not cracked or broke. They're red in color. And my tail lights and my turn signals are not cracked or broke, red in color. Turn signals are always to the far outside. Your splash guard needs to be replaced, but it's at least 8 inches off the ground. And I just happened to notice that they've restrapped this thing with 100% sticker across the back that looks good. With that being said, the trailer tag goes with this trailer. The trailer tag goes with this trailer. So, it doesn't have a date on it. Now then, as I stand here, as I'm thinking, what did I forget? Well, let me see. How about my torque arm on the trailer? I didn't mention my torque arm on the trailer. It's not cracked, broke, or bent. Securely mounted. You know what a torque arm is on a trailer? Let's just go right up here and take a look at it. This arm right here. This arm right here, that's your torque arm. That's your spring and spring hangers. Okay? Right there. It's not cracked or broke or bent. Alright? Now then, that is a complete outside pre-trip. Now if you notice, I purposely forgot that stuff, or didn't cover it, went to the back. Your test is not over until you say it's over. When you get to the back and you say, man,